Good Sunday morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee. I'm one of your moderators, John Becker. With us this morning, two candidates who would like to represent the county and the at-large seat 11 with us. And Vivian Shipe is the Democrat, Garrett Holt is the Republican. So glad to have both of you with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Yes, and our esteemed colleague, John North, with me alongside.
Don't get that often, thank you.
Yes.
I'll take it.
Juan, thank you. Let me begin with this question. Ms. Shipe, why are you running?
Well, I've spent so many years in front of the podium fighting for the rights of everybody, different people that have issues that want somebody to have their voice for them. So it's been 50 years worth of battles. So I would like to be behind the podium and make some decisions that will help people.
Mr. Holt.
You know, I've always really liked solving hard problems, and you know, when I think of all the places I could invest my time, efforts, and energy, I can't think of a better place than helping solve problems to help the future of the community that I grew up in. And when I look at Knox County, I think we are incredibly fortunate to live. You know, this is one of the greatest communities in the country, and that's why so many people are moving here. And I think with that comes a lot of challenges with growth, with the amount of people moving in. That's increased demands on our roads, our infrastructure, our school system, our police force. And I think it's more important now than ever that we have good leaders in place that are willing to be good stewards of this community to make sure that the current generation and future generations can have the opportunity to grow up in the same Knoxville and Knox County that I was able to grow up in.
I want to ask you a quick question about a big decision by Commission recently and whether you agree. They voted to dip into the school budget and take some money in that budget and deliver it to county employees for one-time raises. Was that a smart move by Commission in your eyes?
I think mileage will vary on that. It's in the grand scheme of the school budget, it wasn't a massive chunk, and from my understanding, there were some cuts that Superintendent Ryswick was already planning to make. I think the way I would have handled that differently had I been in that role is I think that could have been a little more of a preemptive conversation. From my understanding, that happened pretty late going into that commission meeting. A lot of members of the school board, the mayor's team, weren't aware of it. And I just think, hey, if we're going to have these conversations about putting one aspect of our county employees, versus another, I think it should have been a little more of an open conversation. I think we need to be supporting our teachers just as much as we need to be supporting the county employees in every other office and every other department.
Ms. Shipe, what do you make of that decision?
When I saw that, I thought, well, I think we should have gone deeper. The problem with that change, they did not look at the root. One thing that I have not agreed with is we, over the years, have given the Board of Education, which is carte blanche, we gave them a $717 million check out of a $1 billion budget. Had we taken the time to look through that budget to see what was needed, what was not needed, we possibly could have found ways that we would have been able to lean the budget, make sure we're not losing 100 teachers that we are getting ready to lose, and be able to give our county employees the raises they need. So going forward, that would be something that I think we need to look at. We're just not going to turn the check over anymore. We're going to look at all the different line items before we give that check over. And I think we could have avoided this had that been done.
It is hard because you don't have line item authority as commission. You just have to say yes or no. But you're saying engage. I think I'm hearing from both of you, engage sooner if you want to make some changes.
Yes, I think we have to start having conversations, crucial conversations with all the different departments so that we can see what do you need, why do you need it, how can we help you do that at the same time, because we are representing the whole county, so we have to look at the needs of every department.
I just want to follow up on that because it's such an important topic. And as you know, the school system budget makes up 2/3 of the entire $1 billion, roughly, county budget. Are there specific areas that you're thinking about? Because the big ticket items I can think about are like projects where they're building entire schools. I mean, if we're going to look deeper at where we might cut, where do you think about doing that?
Well, I'm looking, one of the things I'm looking at right now is they're developing that land for over where Rural High School is at.
Yes.
Now, I am a product
It's a
of
big
community
project.
schools. So I have a problem with looking at why are we going to get rid of our community schools and build this in one area.
3 of them, right?
But we have to bus these children across town. So that would be one area that I would like to look at. Do we need this massive school? How is this going to hurt different communities if we do that? So one of the things that I would look at, let's look at some of the large capital projects that we're doing and see if we cannot find a different way.
Garrett, what do you think about that?
I would honestly, in this situation, defer to the school board and Superintendent Reisbeck. For me as a county commissioner, I think there's a conversation that needs to be had for us to understand, hey, what is the overall demand? But for me to sit here and nitpick the line items, it's outside of my direct jurisdiction. That being said, if you look at the school system, I think the biggest challenge is we have a fairly stagnant, if not declining, student population here in KCS. But we've had rising, stagnant or rising fixed costs for the school system due to inflation. There are some schools, for instance, in South Knoxville, where we have, incredibly low student populations. I think that's where I would look personally, is how can we aggregate some of these lesser used schools where we can maybe get rid of some of that capital overhead. But to my knowledge, I think the school board and Superintendent Reisbeck are trying to oftentimes do the best job they can.
We're going to take a quick break on Inside Tennessee. Back with more of our conversation with these two candidates who would like your vote on August 6th. We're back with that right after this. Back on Inside Tennessee, this is a look at Knox County, and that's the commission map. There are 9 commission districts. The two candidates with us right now want to represent the entire county. At large, seat 11 on the line. Vivian Shipe is the Democrat. Garrett Holt is the Republican. John North.
Thank you, John. Great segue, because I'm looking at that map and I'm not sure there's anybody on that map that would want to deal with what we have to deal with right now, which is growth. It's a significant issue. It's a historic moment in the history of this county. We're at 500,000 people and they keep coming. And I'm pretty convinced now, based on feedback we've gotten, that folks would like you all to stop it, turn the spigot off, or find a way to deal with it so that they don't have to so much. So I would like to know, because growth is not a simple idea, there's also, you mentioned infrastructure, dealing with it. How are you going to deal with that? If you are elected for the next 4 years, I promise you, you're going to have to deal with this.
Well, that is true, that you cannot stop them. We are projected to have between 75,000 people moving here by the end of 2040. And that growth is coming, people from coming all over, everybody in the United States wants to move here. So I think that we have to look at, like with the Advanced Knox program, we're going to have to look at the roads and the storm systems and make sure that everything is in place before we do any other building.
Do you like that program?
I do. I do agree with the unified ordinance.
Some people don't.
But I think that we have to look at making sure that we know the people are coming. We must make sure that everything is in position so that as we are doing more growth, that we have the roads that we need, the storm systems. I would like to see us take some of these empty buildings that we've gotten and repurpose them. Let's use what we have before we start building again. And then I also want to make sure that the people who live in all the different districts, that they have an opportunity to talk. When the developers want to do these things, they need to be a part of it. You just can't just move in here and start building. So that's what I want the people
What do you
involved.
think, Garrett?
First and foremost, I'd much rather live in a growing community than a declining one. And when you look at where Knox County is, we're the second highest growth county in the entire state of Tennessee. We outpaced Nashville, we outpaced Memphis. We're adding average 5,000 new residents every single year here. And with that in mind, we can't control the fact that people want to move here. What we can't control as county commissioners how do we respond. And I think Mayor Jacobs and county commission and a lot of departments here in Knox County have done a fantastic job putting together this advanced Knox initiative over the last few years. As we look to take that into a unified development ordinance that we adopt to overhaul, hey, what does the growth policy plan for this county look like? I think that's one of the most pivotal things county commission do, so we can set those confines. Particularly, there's a lot of chatter, as you said, about hey, we don't want that. We don't, not in my yard. I'm concerned with growth. I think the important part is making sure we can grow in a responsible way, that we're utilizing growth off our major arteries and major corridors to aggregate that, and more importantly, in these areas of the county where we still have a lot of development potential, make sure we're doing that the proper way. I think if we could go back in time, for instance, to Hardin Valley, and make that a 5-lane.
Everybody wants a redo on Hardin Valley.
And everybody.
And it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, we fortunately still have that opportunity in facets of the county that we can take action and be proactive and not reactive.
We heard from both mayoral candidates that they both like North Shore Town Center and the fact of having some a mix of retail and then also residential space. Is density something that you favor?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think density in the correct areas makes a lot of sense. And if you look at North Shore Town Center, I think the concept makes a lot of sense because, not only is it great for the residents there, but it actually has benefits for people outside of that immediate community because, instead of someone having to travel multiple miles to school, multiple miles to the grocery store, that puts less strain on every other, corridor and artery for surrounding residents. So the more that we can adopt a model like that where we have aggregate density with necessary commercial and, shopping, restaurants, schools, et cetera, I think it serves to benefit the community as a whole.
Your take on that question?
I think that is the way to go. That is the model that we need. My concern is that the roads that we're leading to them, the school systems are able to receive the amount of people that are moving into the area. So I like the idea of the diversity and the density of it. I think that is a way to go also.
Only about a minute left. I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds. Ms. Shipe, why is a vote for you the best vote on Election Day?
A vote for me is someone who has been in this race for about the last 50 years to represent the people of the community. There are 506,000 square miles of this wonderful Knox County. I have been able to walk in many different areas of life. I have lived experiences, so when I go to that table and represent them, I will not forget them. I will be the person that you want to represent you, and I will take your ideals and I will fight for them.
Mr. Holt?
For me, this is something I've always been super passionate about. Like I said earlier, I have lived in Knoxville and Knox County almost my entire life. I'm proud to be a Knoxvillian. And for me, the reason I've chosen to step up and try to serve in this capacity is because I think who serves locally truly does matter. And you need people that want to take the time to show up and be invested and work hard, because you can show up and sit in that seat and click a button and vote, and it's a much different job when you have somebody that's invested and wants to show up and take the time and spend the effort and energy to make sure they're making informed decisions and listening. And that's the type of county commissioner I want to be, is that I'm serving all 513,000 of my bosses here in Knox County.
Garrett, Holt, Vivian, Shipe, thank you for the conversation.
Thank you all for having
Thank you,
us.
John.
Best of luck. We'll be right back with another person who would like your vote for county commission. Back with that conversation next. Back on Inside Tennessee, another look at the Knox County Commission map. And again, just to point out here, we did invite the independent candidate in that at-large seat to join us. Mr. Velarde preferred not to join us this Sunday morning. I want you to focus on District 3 there and where it is on the map. Cedar Bluff area is part of it, and with us is the Democrat running in this race, Brandon Huckaby, who would like to have your vote. We did invite Republican Sherry Super on several occasions, but we have yet to hear back from her. So, Mr. Huckaby, explain why you're running.
I appreciate, first off, you all having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm running for local office because I think local office should work for the people that live here. I'm a local mortgage banker, and previous to that, I was a small business banker and a restaurant manager. And I've always worked alongside working families and trying to help them accomplish their goals. A lot of times that involves county-type work. Sometimes people, it's remodeling their house and dealing with permits, small businesses trying to launch. So oftentimes I've seen how county government should work and what its purpose is. I've become increasingly frustrated as a small business owner, as a community member, as a nonprofit leader, with how far our county commission is leaned to the right, and often focused on what I would define as culture war politics. To me, local government really should be boring. It's the things that happen in the background that most people forget about that are extremely important, don't get me wrong, but when I started seeing a red lens being placed over county government, I started asking around and saying, hey, how do we fight back and get back to the normal things? And I realized that I might be the guy. Once I asked too many questions, I find in politics, or at least now that I'm new in this area, that if you say who's the guy like 5 times, someone answers back, you're the guy. So candidate recruitment turned me into the candidate.
One of the big issues with this campaign year is the whole question of the budget, and is it too big, or is it just right, or is it too small? Your opponent at a recent event said she was going to doge the county budget, which may or may not be a failed experiment. It hasn't gotten a lot of positive press lately. I'd like to know what you think about the current budget, if you think it's fat in any way, or if you think actually maybe that there are ways that it should grow.
Great question. The first thing I'll say, as a nonprofit leader, I've seen the cost of audits. One of the ordinances that I was frustrated with County Commission was that if you receive, had it passed, if you receive government funding through the county, that you would be required to submit to a full audit. And right now, nonprofits only have to do that if they're reaching a certain amount of revenue. So I'll use an organization that I'm involved with, Keep Knoxville Beautiful, as an example. A budget for an organization of its size would cost about $16,000, as you can imagine.
An audit would
An
cost.
audit, yes, sorry, an audit. A county audit, forensic one, like a lot of candidates are promising, would be much more expensive than that. So my first
In the tens of thousands of dollars, at least.
A lot. So my first question is, how are we going to pay for that? I don't think there's enough savings to accomplish our paving goals and pay for the audit. To say that is to say that our previous commissions and our previous administrations haven't done a great job. I think they've done a great job of working with what they have. I do think they're always going to want, we always want more money to accomplish our goals. So I think that eventually, if we want to catch up on our road paving, we do have to look for alternate revenue sources.
And what could that be?
For me,
because
yeah.
if you're on commission, you are going to be asked that tough question. And we are not catching up with infrastructure. I mean, our elected officials now acknowledge we're not doing enough.
No,
we're falling
not at all.
further behind.
Yeah, and especially with paving, as that's the #1 conversation I'm hearing in my district. It is already, it's a suburbs, it's fairly developed, and so when people are talking about growth in the county, typically what they're talking about is traffic. It's what they feel. It's not that they see more people in the grocery store, it's that they're at the red lights longer. And so fixing traffic and roads is the #1 conversation in District 3. With that being said, I am a supporter of more commercial development. I think Glenn Jacobs has done an excellent job of bringing more commercial development to the county. I think that any time we can generate sales revenue without having to tax property owners is a great option. So for me, the strategy would be increase commercial development, more sales tax, more revenue, and that's where a lot of our school budget comes from.
You mentioned paving. We've talked about it on this broadcast, but Jim Snowden, who's in charge of engineering, public works, and the paving projects, says just to be keeping up with roads we need to pave, we need to spend about $14 million a year. We're spending half that, $7 million. Where do you make up that shortfall? Is it through new business, or is there more, do you think, you can pull from?
I don't think it's all going to come from new business. I don't think we'll have that much revenue. I do think we will have more than we've budgeted. We have over the last several years. I think that for me, I would like to redirect any growth that we do see toward paving. I don't think we'll catch it up in 1 year. I don't think we'll catch up in 3 years, admittedly. But I do think that any time that we exceed our projected revenue, to paving that goes instead of straight into the reserves, because we do have healthy reserves. That's the conversation this week for the county and for the school district. We instead of directing more money to we don't have to pull from them, but instead of feeding the reserves, let's catch up on some things.
We touched on this with the other candidates. Do you favor the Advanced Knox Plan and the UDO plan?
I do, and the reason for that is I think a lot of feedback has gone into it. One of the things County Commission candidates and City Council candidates hear most often is that the community isn't heard. Advanced Knox and the UDO process has been really great at involving all stakeholders, whether that's realtors, builders, homeowners associations, local nonprofits. Everyone has had a chance to weigh in and give feedback, and I think that's what we've always asked from our local government. I am a supporter of that. It's my understanding there are a few things that different interest groups want to obviously still work on. It's not complete, but I would like to see it come to fruition with the next administration.
There's a segment of the commission increasingly that's been wanting to wade more into the culture war type stuff.
Unfortunately.
And I'm curious where you are in that kind of a discussion, because there is some speculation that that movement is kind of growing on commission, or will after this election. I
agree with you. I do see, actually, one of your previous episodes, one of the at-large candidates, the way he stated it was that I think he said the MAGA party has taken over.
The establishment Republicans were kind of irrelevant anymore.
Correct. I agree that has taken over their party. I also agree that when I'm out knocking doors and talking to community members, people are tired of it. We're exhausted as a community. We've had political warfare fed into our faces for years, whether it's from a federal level, state politics. People are tired of politics, admittedly. And so when I promise people not to bring those culture wars, no matter your opinion on immigration, we all agree that potholes need to be filled. And no matter your view on healthcare, County Commission doesn't decide that other than funding the health department, but they don't decide the programs. So I'm promising folks that I will not submit to those culture wars and will always vote against it.
Brandon Huckaby, candidate for Knox County Commission District 3. We appreciate your time. Again, we did invite Sherry Super a couple of times, extended those invitations. Have not heard back. Best of luck to you on the campaign trail. We're back with the final part of our conversation on Inside Tennessee. Welcome back for Inside Tennessee's What's the Gossip segment. This is a nod to the late Dennis Francis, longtime panelist. He used to always call and say, "What's the gossip?"
Yes, he did. Our good friend. I miss him.
I do too. And John, let's talk about the gossip with the race for governor, because for a while it's tough to get candidates. And then all of a sudden, July 4th happens, and then the floodgates open, and we start to see them everywhere. It's really when the campaigns start.
Thank goodness. And the money starts rolling in because we get the ads. No, it's been great. This past week was terrific. I don't think we've ever had a week where we talked to all three of the leading GOP candidates. That was awesome. That would include, if you remember, a candidate named Marsha Blackburn, who has been like not talking to anybody, and then suddenly now she's everywhere. She's everywhere.
I've seen her in Memphis. I've seen her on our air. She was on our air a couple of times.
Yeah.
So they're answering questions about the issues that they think are most important. That is Senator Marsha Blackburn, Representative John Rose, he's in Congress now but wants to be governor, and State Representative Monty Fritz. Those are the top three leading Republican candidates. And again, one of them will move on to the general election. Voters will elect them in August. So John, let's talk specifically about each candidate and what they say is the priority for Tennesseans, and we'll start with Senator Blackburn.
Well, she lists several. We talked to her this past week. She talks a lot about safety of Tennesseans and making sure that Tennesseans are safe. She talks about things like she believes that people think immigration is a big deal in the state of Tennessee. You can debate her on that, whether that is or not. Those are significant. If she is the next governor, she wants to be very careful about taxation and spending. I think she was very proud of the fact that we were trying to keep taxes low in the state. Those are some big ones for her. She's got a commercial that's something about how China is a threat and fortune cookies show up, whatever.
Yeah, that's happened. Somewhere we'll ask a political expert about that focus on China, but even Representative Rose has hinted at it in his conversations with us.
He has, and we talked to him again this past week as well. We've had him on the show. He did, a lot of what you hear John Rose say is pretty similar to what Blackburn says. He also has sort of singled out this idea of we don't want these kind of liberal jobs coming into the state. He's mentioned Starbucks. There was a big announcement that was made in recent months by the governor's office, I think, about that. A lot of what he says is pretty similar, although you'll hear people say he's trying to be right of Senator Blackburn.
Mm-hmm. Senator Blackburn expressing in an interview with our Memphis affiliate or our sister station there, her support for the Starbucks move to Nashville, that they really came to Jesus, if you will, to see what Middle Tennessee could offer from the Northwest. Again, we've heard from Monty Fritz as well. You can watch all of these interviews. He disagrees with both of them on the voucher question. He says it's unconstitutional and he'd get rid of it. Again, we have a couple QR codes if you want to pop them up on our screen, our illustrious director, Kevin, and you can watch all of those interviews in their entirety right now at WBIR.com and streaming on our app. We appreciate you watching Inside Tennessee. Back with you next week.